Hi, I'm John Fitzgerald and welcome to this week's edition of Team Wealth Builders. Today, I want to talk about the elephant in the country. They talk about the elephant in the room, and how we're all sort of avoiding it and don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about the elephant in the country, and it's superannuation. It's really pitiful. It's quite amazing. The average super balance for a 60, 65-year-old today is $200,000. That's what they're going to retire on. And that's a male. Females is $112,000. Now, let's just think about this. I want you to really think about it. If you're 60, 65 years of age, how employable are you? Because at 40, 45, 50, you might think you're bulletproof, but at 60, 65, how employable are you, to get a job? And how would you go living on $200,000? Now, let's think about that. And let's say you've got $200,000, your spouse has got $100,000. So let's be really generous and say you've got $300,000 in super. Today, you'll get 4% in the bank. 4% of $300,000, $12,000 a year. So you've got a paycheck of less than $250 a week. Come on, we've got to get serious about this. And this is the whole super industry. And we all know how the super industry has been performing over the last 4 or 5 years, or since the GFC. And I always use the benchmark being in the All Ordinaries because there was so much money of the super industry in the All Ordinaries or in the stock exchange. And the All Ordinaries was 6,100, 200 plus, and now it's something below 5,000, trending up positively, but nowhere near where it was back in 2007, 2008. So we haven't even made up that ground on our super back then. And we've got to start with where we are today. And this $200,000 balance by 2020, if you're going to be 60, 65, isn't going to be much more. Now here's the problem. A lot of people say, well, I don't know what to do because I don't trust financial planners. They charge too much in fees. I don't know what they do. They talk a whole different language to me. So what do I do? Okay, that's a good start. You educate yourself. You get as much education as you possibly can. And that's where Custodian, I've got to be really upfront in saying we always start a Custodian as an educational base. And we'll happily give you as much education as we possibly can. Now, I have financial planners who work for me, but I don't necessarily believe in financial planners. I believe in doing it yourself, but I also recognise that a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing it themselves, so they need some advice, they need some guidance, they need someone they can just pick up the phone to and say, what does it all mean? We do that. We can easily do that for you. And I also want to say that one of the biggest tools we have is superannuation. Now, the government's onto it, because our contributions are going to go from 9% to 12% in the next 7, 8 years. Now you say, well, that's only a 3% difference. No, it's a 30% difference. The contributions are going up by 30% in the next 7 years, from 9% to 12%. That's actually huge. And that's why nearly 3,000 Australians per month are setting up their own self-managed super funds. They want control of their own destiny. They want to manage their own super because they're panicking, realising, you know what? The super companies now are giving people on retirement maybe $200,000. That ain't enough. And if I'm going to put in 10, 12% of my income over the next 10 years, I want to ensure that that's growing, and I want to ensure that I'm using it to get the maximum I possibly can out of. And I think that's the attitude we need to have. If we've got compulsory super, let's look at using it. It might not be that you set up a self-managed super fund, but certainly look at your options with super. That is, who you're with. Get to know your super. And we happily do that for you. We have a Know Your Super form. I call it the KISS form. That we'll do a prognosis of your super through our super accountants affiliates, and they'll tell you what your super performance is, what your balance is. We can even look for lost super if you need them to. And more importantly, how effective it is. That is, have you got insurance through your super? Can you put insurance through your super, save yourself some cash? So I want you to realise super is a tool. It's a compulsory tool that we all have, and you have got options, but it's a tool you're going to need to rely on. So why don't you pick up the phone and do something about it? Thanks for listening to me.